Who says that stacks have to be small? Let's dive into all sorts of different sounds you can get out of 16-inch stacks. These are all going to be composed of one crash and one china. On the top of the stack, we're going to be taking a look at 5 different crashes from Zildjian. First up is going to be the A series medium thin. This cymbal is brighter with a lot of overtones. Then the K Constantinople. This is a throwback to the 60s with a higher pitch and more overtones than what you would normally expect out of a K. Next up is the K Zildjian Suite. This is a smooth sounding crash with an unlathed bell. Giving us a slightly trashy sound will be the K Custom Dark. It's unique because of its overhammering, and that's where that trashiness comes from. And finally, the K Custom Special Dry. This is a super trashy / earthy sounding cymbal. By the way, if you're interested in hearing how these cymbals sound as crashes, well, if you check out the description below, you'll find out comparison videos for those. Even though we're going to be swapping 5 crashes on the top, underneath, the china is going to be consistent. We're going to be using the Zildjian FX China Trash, formerly branded as the Oriental China. This china has actually 2 different types of hammering going on. Towards the edge, towards the lip, it looks like an A custom, but once you get to the inside, most of that cymbal there is a random hammering, more like what you would see on a K. And if you want to hear what this china sounds standalone, I'll have a link for that in the description as well. Now, there's a few things I want you to listen for when you're going through the samples. First of all, keep in mind that the crash is on top. That's what we're directly hitting. So we're going to be getting a bit more of that sound as opposed to the china underneath. Now, I've arranged the cymbals in the order of the pitch, generally going from higher to lower. So the A medium custom is probably going to be the highest pitch of the group, and the special dry is probably going to be the lowest pitch. Also pay attention to overtones and how the overtones sound. The A medium thin itself standalone has probably the most overtones, and the dark special dry, those usually have the least. But depending how things are interacting between the crash and the china, it may cut out more or less overtones. So really pay attention to how much overtones come through in the stack and how those overtones sound. Some other things that might crop up is maybe differences in volume and maybe some differences in stick definition. Now, since this is a stack, there's a certain amount of tension that's going to have to be applied between the 2 cymbals. To try to keep things consistent, I am applying the same amount of tension between each of the 5 sets. We'll be tracking this with a pair of Earthwork omnidirectional overheads. That's going to be running into an A-Design Specifica preamp. And in the computer, I'm only going to be doing time and phase correction to those 2 tracks, but my other tracks will have additional processing. My initial thoughts, and actually this is something that quite surprised me, the amount of tightness or openness that the stack had changed quite a bit, even though I had the same amount of tension applied. The first two, the A medium thin and the K Constantinople, those both had a pretty short sound, pretty choked. But then the sweet, dark, and special dry got progressively looser. Now, why would this happen? Well, the only thing I can think of offhand is a cymbal, it's not perfectly straight, right? It has a certain pitching or bowing to it. And depending on different makes are going to bow more steeply than others. That's probably going to result in a different amount of contact or surface area it touches with the china underneath. So that's probably causing the different amount of looseness. The pitch generally followed what I thought it was going to be, going highest to lowest as we went along. There was a little amount of underlying overtones that was coming from the china underneath throughout each one. The amount of overtones that was coming through for the top cymbal, of course, was changing quite a bit based on that earlier thing we talked about how loose it seemed as a result of possibly the bowing. If you guys are interested in seeing more cool cymbal videos down the road, then hit subscribe right here or down below. And while you're waiting, check out this video.